Dublin city in 1913, the boss was rich and the poor were slaves, the women working and children starving. Then on came Larkin like a mighty wave. The workers cringed when the boss man pondered 70 hours was his weekly chore. He asked for little and less was granted, less getting little then he'd ask for more. In the month of August, the bossman told us no union man for him could work. We stood by Larkin and told the bossman we'd fight or die, but we wouldn't shirk. 8 months we fought and 8 months we starved. We stood by Larkin through thick and thin. But foodless homes and the crying of children, it broke our hearts, we just couldn't win. Then Larkin left us, we seemed defeated. The night was black for the working man. But on came Connolly with new hope and counsel. His motto was that we'd rise again. In 1916 in Dublin city, the English soldiers, they burnt our town. They shelled our buildings and shot our leaders. The harp was buried neath the bloody crown. They shot MacDermott and Pearson Plunkett. They shot MacDonough and Clark the Brave. From bleak Kilmainham they took their bodies to Arbor Hill and a quicklime grave. But last of all of the 7 heroes, I'll sing the praise of James Connolly. The voice of justice, the voice of freedom, he gave his life that men might be free.
Drew's song is quite accurate depiction of Dublin's past. A contrasting place with a huge gap between rich and poor. Yet this city is one of the 6 designated by United Nations as a city of literature. James Joyce, Oscar Wilde, Bernard Shaw, Jonathan Swift, Bram Stoker, Samuel Beckett, all of them called this city home, and most have their alma mater here in Trinity College. The old library of Trinity College is one of the iconic places of literary Dublin. It is my 2nd visit here, but the first time for Vlader has not yet been here. We both wander the dark panelled hall and admire the Book of Kells dating back to 800 AD and the magical old library of Trinity College. The Irish harp attributed to a legendary King Brian Boru is also displayed here. This old Irish harp is a central part of the coat of arms of Ireland. Funnily enough, Guinness has a copyright on the inverted form of the Anil, or Brian Boru harp, which is now preserved in the library of Trinity College. The true soul of Ireland is all here.
If ever you go to Dublin town in 100 years or so, inquire for me in Bagot Street and what I was like to know. He was a queer one, follow-diddle-lido. He was a queer one, and I'll tell you. Me great-grandmother knew him well. He asked her to come and call on him in his flat, and she giggled at the thought of a young girl's lovely fall. He was dangerous, follow-diddle-lido. He was dangerous, and I'll tell you.
1,000 years old Christ Church Cathedral is founded yet by Vikings. It is also quite unique as it is officially claimed as the seat, cathedral, of both the Church of Ireland and Roman Catholic Archbishops of Dublin. The rift between Anglican and Roman Catholic Church is still felt quite strongly in Ireland. Homeless Jesus sculpture, made by Canadian artist and installed on the grounds of Christ Church Cathedral, may serve as reminder of the grim past, famine and starvation. Back in the days, there were some odd times when Christ Church Cathedral was fairly neglected and hosted a few rowdy pubs down in the crypt. Today the oldest secular carving in Ireland is displayed in the crypt, as well as mummified corpses of a cat and a mouse, trapped in one of the organ pipes mid-chase, somewhere around 1860.
They need to make their way to the Wicklow Mountains, where they're mountains. Want to kill him, so they send some spies after him. And from what we can tell, Brad was sitting in a bar. He's offered a free drink. He takes it. It's poison. Dead. And Fred Hugh O'Donnell. Okay. So here, Lady Justice, her sword is pointing up, not down. She's a violent Lady Justice, so she does discriminate. She's violent. She's looking at the sword and away from the scales, and even just the way she's holding the scales, it's a bit like, you know, dog poop on the way home, you know, or after walking the dog or something like that. And you're right, so the scales are slightly off balance. Historically they would have been more off balance, right?
40 steps were once called 40 steps to hell, leading to the now non-existent Cutthroat Lane. This was an area of brothels, taverns, thieves and scoundrels. We are following our guide Kieran around the city, and he is telling us hilarious and creepy stories of the dark side of Dublin, all about murders, executions, corrupted justice, drunkard rebels and warlords, witchcraft, and body snatchers. Dubliners are not a paragon of practicality. They erected this huge spire instead of the British Nelson's monument blown up by IA in 2002. We stroll on O'Connell Street, then settle for dinner in O'Neill's for a ping or two of a Harris IPA and live music.
Well, Tim Maloney ducked his head when a bottle of whiskey flew at him. He ducked and landing on the bed, the whiskey scatters over Tim. Oh, me daddy revives and see how he rises. Tim Finnegan rising in the bed, saying 20 your whiskey around like blazes. Peter turned and said, do you think I'm dead? Whack full of down when you dance to your partners around the floor with your thunder shake. Isn't it the truth? I told you lots of fun at Finnegan's Way. How would your L1 game ball?
Staying late in a Temple Bar district didn't prevent us from waking up early to visit the National Gallery, which hosts an interesting collection of medieval and modern art. Highlights include some great paintings by Pieter Bruegel and Rubens. In a great hall we find a set of particularly impressive modern tapestries that combine painting with photo prints. Housed in a beautiful Georgian building near Stephen's Park, the Little Museum of Dublin hosts an assortment of quirky artifacts donated by the public. It tells the story of this city full of political affairs, rebellions, an unbeatable sense of humour, and passion for a pint of plain. This place tells the history of the city that has undergone many changes during the last 100 years, from the visit of Queen Victoria to the global success of U2.
Oscar Wilde called work the curse of the drinking classes. Brendan Beacon called himself a drinker with a writing problem. He also said that God created alcohol to stop the Irish from taking over the world. It's a sobering thought. And George Bernard Shaw described Irish whiskey as liquid sunshine. Now these days, of course, Dublin is synonymous with Guinness. I saw the danger, yet I walked along the enchanted way, and I said, let grief be a fallen leaf at
Our next stop is the Cathedral of St. Patrick, where Jonathan Swift served as dean from 1713 until his death in 1745. It is during this time is when he wrote the famous Gulliver's Travels and his inflammatory, satirical essay, Modest Proposal, in which he proposes that the starving poor of Ireland sell their excess children to the rich as food. In 1729, Ireland was suffering from religious, political, and social strife as well as famine. And Swift was thus trying to criticize the ineffectiveness of the Irish political system. In St. Patrick, the battle standards of the Irish regiments are hung to slowly deteriorate and rot on the walls as per British custom, symbolising the fading memory of the past heroes. The Lady Chapel of St. Patrick's Cathedral was built in 1270 by Archbishop Fulk de Saunford and, like the rest of the building, was restored in the 19th century. From mid-17th to the early 19th century, the chapel was known as the French Chapel, as it was used by Huguenots, French Protestant refugees, after they came to Ireland following the revocation of the Edict of Nantes.
У него был паинт, а не маленькие стаканчики. А я и так осторожно. А можно и не падать.
The next morning we travel to the Malahide Castle and gardens. The magnificent medieval castle is more than 800 years old. The prominent Talbot family called Malahide home for generations. Our local guide is showing us collections and is telling stories about ghosts and oddities of the ancient castle.
As I walk by the dockside one evening so rare, to view the still waters and take the salt air, I spied an old fisherman singing a song. Ah, take me away, boys, me time is not long. Wrap me up in the oilskin and blankets, no more at the docks I'll be seen. Just tell me, oh shipmates, I'm taking a trip, mates, I'll see you someday in Fiddler's Green. Now Fiddler's Green is a place I've heard tell, where fishermen go if they don't go to hell. The weather is fair and the dolphins do play, and the cold coast of Finland is far, far away. Wrap me up in me oilskin and blankets, no more at the docks I'll be seen. Just tell me, oh shipmates, I'm taking a trip, mates, I'll see you someday at Fiddler's Green. Wrap me up in me oilskin and blankets, no more at the docks I'll be seen. Just tell me, oh shipmates, I'm taking a trip, mates, I'll see you someday at Fiddler's Green. And when you're in dock and the long trip is through, there's pubs and there's clubs and there's lassies there too. The girls are all pretty and the beer is all free, and there's buckles are on growing on every tree. Wrap me up in the oilskin and blankets, no more at the docks I'll be seen. Just tell me, oh shipmates, I'm taking a trip, mates, I'll see you someday at Fiddler's Green. Now I don't want a harp nor a halo, not me, Just give me a breeze and a good rolling sea. I'll play me old squeeze box as we sail along, with the wind in the rigging a singing the song. Wrap me up in me oilskin and blankets, no more at the docks I'll be seen. Just tell me, oh shipmates, I'm taking a trip, mates, I'll see you someday at Fiddler's Green.
В нашем деле главное не останавливаться.
Наша дорогая.
Я 2 раза остановила, 2 раза попала.
The Samuel Beckett Cable Swing Bridge is crossing the Liffey in Dublin closer to the port area. It was officially opened to pedestrians in 2009. The form of the bridge bears a resemblance to the Brian Boru harp. Next, we are heading to Grafton Street, which is bursting with live music.
She's all right with me. When you walk down the street, my heart just skips and beats.
Пойдем гитаристу к нам, пойдем.
It was just like a storm when we were young, when we were young, when we were young, when we were young, and it's high.
All my friends are turning green. She's a magician's assistant in a dream.
Look how they shine for you, and all the things you do. They're all how you came along.
Henrietta Street is one of the oldest Dublin streets built in the 18th century. It was laid out in 1725 and includes a number of very large red brick city palaces of Georgian design. 14 Henrietta is a sad museum showing the history of the majestic mansion, first housing a prominent British family of 3. Corrupted city councillors have turned the whole street into a slum in 1876, and more than 100 people lived in this building. On average, 8 children died each day on this street. The Honourable Society of King's Inns is the oldest formally established institution of professional legal education in Ireland. It was founded in 1541 during the reign of Henry VIII.
Чего живешь?
In Dublin's fair city, where the girls are so pretty, I first set my eyes on sweet Molly Malone, as she wheeled her wheelbarrow through streets broad and narrow, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, crying cockles and castles, alive, alive, oh.
3 statues in Merrion Square in Dublin commemorate famous Irish poet and playwright Oscar Wilde. Due to a controversy over Oscar Wilde's life, it took about 100 years for the Irish public to recognise the significance of Oscar's work and honour his achievements. The sculpture of the famous dandy was cut from coloured marble in 1997 by Danny Osborne. Facial expression resembling a rather contorted sneer is disrupting the realism of the figure, as Oscar Wilde's face is half smiling, half bears a sombre expression. This dualism symbolises an image of Wilde as an elegant dandy on one side and of the broken man he became following his incarceration for conducting a homosexual affair. The 2 other sculptures nearby are one pillar having a nude pregnant representation of Wilde's wife Constance Lloyd on top. The other one has a male torso representing Dionysius, the Greek god of drama and wine, atop it. Both flanking sculptures are in bronze and granite, too, and both pillars have inscriptions from Wilde's poems carved onto them. We are all in the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars. Only dull people are brilliant at breakfast. With freedom, books, flowers, and the moon, who could not be happy? The public is wonderfully tolerant. It forgives everything except genius. Merrion Square Park was only open to the elite public when Oscar Wilde's family lived nearby. When young Oscar was walking there as a boy, he often saw street guttersnipes hanging on the other side of the fence and eager to get in. It is this childhood impression that influenced him into writing the selfish giant tale. We visited Oscar Wilde's restored childhood home at Merrion Square 1. Oscar Wilde grew up in a very remarkable family. Lady Jane Wilde, Oscar's mother, was a poet, writer, and translator. Under the pen name Speranza, she published revolutionary verses and editorials for the radical newspaper The Nation. Speranza became a hero to the Irish people during the Great Famine and for decades afterward. Sir William Wilde, Oscar's father, was knighted for becoming a famous eye and ear surgeon. In addition to medical studies, he was interested in archaeology, Irish and European folk tales, statistics, topography, and travel writing. Yet the family was surrounded by scandal when William Wilde took a lover young enough to be her daughter. Surprisingly, Speranza took it calmly, and they frequently showed up together.
Then fill to me the parting glass. Good night and joy be with you all.